already was signed in conjunction with that. See it as subsequent.
Okay, trustee Maher?
I think this is the responsibility of the board. We need to spend the time to analyze our budget and understand our budget and work with staff and our professionals on staff to figure this out. This is one of our key responsibilities. I don't see why we would send it to an ad hoc committee of people that don't have to deal with it meeting after meeting.
Right. My only concern as the initiative of this is, will we have time in committee of the whole? So if we stay with committee of the whole and we say we need, we're just running out of time on our agendas, we all see that. So if it's not, and I'm not against, I like your idea, Maher. I mean, having the board standing committee or something of a budget would work as well. I just feel like we're not going to get to the bigger budgeting things unless we have a dedicated time to do so. So I don't know what that answer is.
Yeah, maybe when we discuss Cal versus standing committees at our next.
Okay.
When we just, that would make sense to problem solve around it.
Does that work for everyone? We can just cross that off for now.
Is there like a raising hands or anything that we just have? Which color are we doing? Maybe that would be red?
On hold.
Ask for a vote.
Okay, so, and I want to rephrase it, it's just a
We take the
committee.
same process for everything,
Yeah.
so let's just keep the same
Yeah,
process.
you just took comments about
Okay,
the
let's-
science,
let's
we
move
should
on.
still vote.
Sure, okay.
Or
So, appoint members to a budget committee to study and recommend increased revenues, decreased expenditures, and service sharing. All those in favor, say, raise your hand.
Wait, could I make a comment?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I understand, I think, well, I could see some value in something like this, but one of the things that we've moved away, and I think the newer board members don't know this, well, we do have a budgeting process, and we do, I'm sorry, we will have another like 6 or 7 meetings just for the budget alone, and in the long-range financial plan, and in the old structure, in our ordinance with the committee structure, we also had a budget committee. So we moved away from having a budget committee now. So it's, and I guess for me, on this item, I'm challenging that move, first off, and also, I guess maybe because I don't quite understand why we moved away from that. And I agree with what Trustee Martin said. We are the ones that are elected. We are the fiduciaries, not saying that other people wouldn't have valuable insight. But ultimately, it is our responsibility, and it's, one way that people could vote us out of office if we make really terrible budgetary decisions, so.
And again, it would be an advisory committee, just like the rest of the
Right, but it
committees.
will take staff time, it will take board time, it will take a lot of time to organize and make, it's not like we're just gonna say, okay, we have a budget committee. I mean, we saw how long it took to get the HRC committee going.
So I think what you're hearing is that you agree with trustee Maher that a standing budget committee would be of, like, say, 3 trustees would make sense.
I'm agreeing that, yes,
Is that right? Okay, I just want to make sure that.
I mean, more or less, I mean, that's more that than not, but yes.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, so all those in favor, say, raise your hand. Opposed? Oh, I don't think we need opposed. 2. Okay. Initiate the fireside chat or a town hall meeting, 2 sessions a year on varying topics. I'm sure, again, when we get into the detail, you can say 2 or 1, or it doesn't really matter, but do we want to initiate a town hall meeting, in the near future?
So can you explain a little bit more again? I know that before we had like 10 minutes to describe all the various initiatives. So are you mandating, would this be a mandate that all of us conduct these outside of our other board responsibilities?
Right, no, I think that's the village board's decision of whether we want to take on doing village hall meetings as a group, meaning we split up some topics, or if we'd rather just do them on our own time. This would be an initiative of the village board collectively to do, but if you feel it would be better to just do your own, hold your own, at your own pace or none, that's fine too, then I wouldn't vote for this initiative. I think this is more of a coordinated village board thing.
It's just tricky, obviously, because we all have our own interpretations and opinions of what
Right. Let's just get it
is
something.
representative of the board and of the community. So if it is something that we're saying this is a board thing, what I would hesitate to do is to sanction this as a board initiative, because quite frankly, a lot of us disagree on a lot of fundamental things in this regard. So if we were to go as the authority and say that we're representing the board or, the village in this regard, I don't think that would be an accurate representation look at the priorities. So I guess that's something, but, you know, I understand it's great that I think a lot of us do have a lot of contact with the residents in this community. But I guess I would just question what this would look like.
I think most of these initiatives, that's why I hesitate, because Rebecca's always been warning me, don't get into all the details of what the initiative is, just the generality, and then if it's a priority, then we go into more discussion on what that means, like parking. You're not gonna have all those answers yet, but in general, should parking be addressed? But I appreciate that, I understand exactly what you're saying about people have different opinions.
I mean, would this be a staff? The staff would organize this for us, or?
Nope, this is village board. It would just be coming up with topics, and you can assigning out the topics, picking straws, whatever you want to do, and then we would be going out to committee when the data is appropriate for yourself. I mean, whenever you decide. But
So
it's-
we have to discuss this during board meeting time, discuss the whole committee structure, the fireside chat, come to an agreement on how the whole process and procedure would go.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna vote now.
Because we took, this is, the initiative I had, the town hall and debt and taxes was a separate initiative that got combined with this. And that was given the large amount of facility initiatives, facility needs on our side, a large amount of facility needs on the school district side, and that we're all taxing the same people, that maybe can we separate that out, because I'm
Is
trying.
that done by staff or by an elected
It would
official?
involve staff and elected
Okay.
officials, because I think that we need to at least be considering issues of debt, taxation, projection of assessed value, all that kind of
So
thing.
like a
And
workshop rather than an ad hoc committee, right?
I think it will involve some, possibly Elder's time, possibly Mark's time, coming together with some just basic understanding of our debt and taxation issues, and asking the school board to participate with us in this educational initiative.
Last clarification, is it education, town hall meetings to me are, we present something and we answer questions. So would it be more educational where we present, they're not, it's not a work group, like a charrette? I just want to be clear, is it like?
It's a meeting where we would present information on how debt, taxes, projected debt, percentage of debt as percent of assessed equalized, projected equalized, all that just kind of technical stuff. And if people had questions, we would endeavor to answer the questions.
Thank you. Trustee Meyer.
I could support educational, more focused educational. It's kind of like a long-term plan, the thing we go through, just explain some of the parameters and how this flows and answer a presentation, but stay up with some board members if they want to just be there, but more to try to get the public more informed about bigger issues, the finance, the debt, that's good stuff.
I think that was the fireside chats too, but I think I left off the word staff, so yes.
I understand Trustee Bachor's concerns. I do recognize that not all of us agree on every topic, but as Trustee Meyer said, I think I can certainly get behind something where we're going out and educating maybe the staff in conjunction with a couple of trustees. We're really presenting some sort of initiative or something that we're working on in an educational manner. That would be a wise choice for me.
Trustee McKay, since she hasn't spoken yet, and then Trustee first.
Yeah, I can support educational events as time allows.
And will we divvy those up, Trustee Warren?
If we have support for educational events, we could vet what that really means and match it with our, expectations. And I do feel, as far as like informal chats or less formal chats, I feel like we're in a place of transition where I feel like the role of a trustee is kind of getting expanded a little bit, or I think we just are having shifting expectations around how we connect in the community, what counts as connecting in the community, and I find it pretty overwhelming. And we're also meeting more as a board, and we're doing more processes. So I feel that as a trustee, my first responsibility is to this organization, And so the additional time that I'm being asked for, I want to put it here. It's not that I don't care about residents, but these are all open meetings, so we might need residents to meet us halfway in participation here, but then also, I've always been available. I just don't know about scheduling extra time. I'm a little cautious around, just because we are in a big transition time. So that's the timing of it might be a little off for me, but it's not that I don't want to work to that. And then again, our working relationships are not where I think that they could be to really benefit and really be effective in the community together.
Okay, trustee Bachers.
And I agree, I agree what you asked about, would we delegate that to someone? So again, I agree with trustee McKay that a board, our responsibility is, yes, we can help educate residents, but we are also voted into this office. So here's a great example. If you were to delegate this to a TIF topic, to me or to trustee Amanda, you would probably get very different educational outcomes as far as, what the role of TIF is in the community. And then, both of us would come with opinions regarding that as well. So, and I'm not sure that, but, I guess we could talk about this as a board, but I think that there are educational opportunities. I just don't necessarily see that, as trustee McKay said, that that's a role that we would want for ourselves or others of the board to do necessary, or to be as far as like the, how would you call it, the resident expert here. Because that's not our job. That's staff's job, is to be an expert on that information. And how that gets disseminated also. So we have to look at this as, do we want to task staff with more public meetings, as trustee McKay said, our meetings are public. All of these meetings are public, and they're all open to questions and comments and stuff like that from residents. And they're video recorded. So I think it's a great idea, the more information we can get out, the better. But I would be less likely as an individual to trust the source if it were an elected official versus someone who is hired and has accountability to an elected body.
Okay, I have a comment to that, but I'll wait. Just Carpenter.
This is something that I've heard a lot, that the ability to have an open dialogue, and yes, these are all open meetings, but it does feel very different knowing that you're going to learn about a topic and you're going to have open dialogue than coming to a board meeting and being in the audience. And so I definitely can appreciate what trustee McKay is saying about the quantity of meetings and where our focus really needs to be. But I think if we're saying we're going to do 2 of these a year, to me that feels reasonable, and I think would be really beneficial to the community.
Okay, so thank you so much. I wrote this in. I know there was 3 of us that actually, I think, contributed to the word town hall. The impetus was, I heard in April, or for the last, that 3-month period from the residents, that they really, really value the informal setting to learn about, say, our parking regulations, or we're doing an initiative and they want to ask a couple questions. But that face-to-face, they don't just say it about their elected officials, they say it about the police department. They really, our community is very civically engaged, and although you don't see a lot of people at board meetings, it's not the dialogue they're craving that I've heard. So it's a different, like trustee Carpenter said, it's just a different format for connecting with the residents. They do, most aldermen do it in Milwaukee. We can do it separately, and that's fine with me too. I will do one definitely, and I promise to do so. So it was more just a coordination, so that if I do one and trustee Menta does one and Wesley decides he wants to go out and do one, that we're not all doing the same topic, and it was just more coordination. But we can still do them as an elected official ourselves. So, but I just wanted to share that because that is something that I had heard from the residents. So, yes.
And obviously a big distinction that I'd like to highlight here is we are not Milwaukee aldermen. We are not part-time workers. We don't have our own staff. We don't. And it's also, let's be frank, it's also a very politicized kind of thing to do. So I get it, there could be a public benefit, but there's also, if it's advertised for us doing X, Y, or Z, then there's a political benefit that we each receive, unintended or otherwise. So I understand what you're saying, trustee Carpenter, that that, yes, it's great to have the information and put out there in an informal kind of discussion. I think we have the, what is it called, the citizens academy or the,
Yes.
yes. And I'm not saying you have to be involved in that, you know, there's, but let's face it, I don't know how many of you don't get stopped every time you go out somewhere in this village, like to the grocery store, to the 4th of July, so it's not like we are aldermen in Milwaukee where we're not accessible. We all live, all 7 of us live here in, you know, 1.5 square miles. So I'm not saying it wouldn't be valuable to have more opportunities for people to interface with us in an informal arena, but like with that, yeah, there's just a lot of questions around this, and is this really where we as a board, with all these big things like the fire station, everything else, want to be focusing our time? Because there are some people that do come to these things, but we still represent 13,500 people, you know?
All right, and then I'll take Trustee McKay's, and then we should just wrap it up. Go ahead.
I just also to put out another example aspect of this is that I just realized, and the new trustees haven't experienced it yet, but there are people that I've asked to meet